I'm doing stand-up. Oh my God.
Oh, perfectly. Hello and welcome to G-Woman Voices of Influence series. My name is Frankie Picasso, and today I am with a woman who is a leader, a true leader, a pioneer in voice-powered publishing. Tina Dietz is an award-winning vocal leadership expert and the founder and CEO of Twin Flame Studios. She's recognized by Forbes, ABC, NBC, CBS, and the Chicago Tribune. Tina has helped entrepreneurs, experts, and thought leaders transform their voice into lasting authority through audiobooks, podcasts, and publishing innovation. Under her leadership, Twin Flame Studios pioneered the first remote audiobook production experience and now leads the industry in transforming podcast content into professionally published books. That's amazing. With more than 2 decades of experience across 30 plus industries, 8 countries, Tina has consulted with teams and leaders from organizations including Johnson & Johnson, General Electric, Aetna, Novo, Nordisk, Moderna Wealth, and UGG. Her podcasts have reached more than 300,000 listeners and have also been featured on Inc. magazine's list of top 35 podcasts for entrepreneurs. Welcome, Tina.
Well, thank you, Frankie. I appreciate that.
Look at that bio. Tina, you built an entire company around voice, the power of voice. What first inspired you to step into this work and recognize that voice itself could become a vehicle for leadership and transformation?
Well, my early days were a constant tug of war between coming out of the womb, like very much having a voice and wanting to express that voice and living in an environment where that voice was continually tried to be taken away from me. So I grew up in this constant tug of war, both, in school and at home and in neighborhoods, experiencing bullying, where I was very vocal and very much wanted to create these, like, let's put on a show, like, let's do the things, like, let's explore this stuff. Oh, you want to look at mythology? You want to read a book? You want to go to Narnia? Like, I was all about imagination and playing together, and was a gifted kid, still am, really involved in theater. But the place where I grew up and the things that were surrounded were constantly telling me to be small, be quiet, just, sit down, shut up, behave, don't question things. And so as I kind of progressed through my life, that push-pull has always led me to this place of questioning authority, first of all. I am a Gen Xer, but also to fight for the right for my voice to be heard, for a seat at the table, and then to fight for other people as well, to have their voices heard and to value their voices for what they are, which is our unique thumbprint on the planet.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. So who most influenced your journey, and how did that person shape the way that you lead, communicate, and help others find their voice?
I really can't get it down to one person, for sure. And I think we also, the way that we are influenced, we can be influenced in really positive ways, but we also can be really influenced to butt up against things. A lot of dichotomy in the home that I grew up in, and my mom was very much a pioneer, but she wouldn't say that about herself, right? So she was in early computers. She owned a home-based business in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Wow. She transformed from being one kind of entrepreneur to another kind of entrepreneur with, no college education or anything like that in midlife. So she really influenced me in all of those ways but quietly, like, she didn't make a big deal out of it. It was just the norm for me. Whereas, my conflict with my dad also influenced me to be able to stand up against bullies and deal with narcissists and all this other crap that, if you are in business and you want to do something with your life in the world, you have to deal with all kinds of people. So the influence can really go either way. But another person who has really been on my mind lately, who influenced me greatly in a very quiet ways, was my elementary school librarian. And I always cry when I think about her. Yeah, her name was Sheila Romance. It's such a beautiful soul. And I was just saying to my mom the other day that it wasn't so much what she did, it's the space she created. Because in that library, I always felt safe, I always felt seen, and I always felt protected. And that environment that she created very quietly, not through rules, not through yelling at people, through her way of being, gave me the space to do the imagination and exploration and to feel safe in a way that I really needed to. I needed a sanctuary at that time in my life. And it was a very simple thing and yet very profound.
I think we all have one of those teachers somewhere in our background that really made a big difference for us. I know I do.
Yeah.
You pioneered remote audiobook production long before it became mainstream. What gave you the confidence to challenge traditional publishing, trust your own voice? And through your leadership and presence, you help people turn spoken ideas into lasting authority through podcasts, audiobooks, and publishing. So what separates people, it's two-part here, who separate people who communicate from those who truly command attention and influence others?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a lot. Okay.
Yeah,
Let's break it down. So what gave me the impetus to start and do this in a different way was it's a very common entrepreneurial journey, which is, I'm interested in something. I'm going to investigate how that works. And then when you investigate, you go, well, that's dumb. Why are they doing it that way? This could be so much better. I think we could do this a different way and make it better for everyone. So that is what started my audiobook journey. So I was a business coach. I was also voice acting at the time. And that's what sent me down this rabbit hole of why aren't my colleagues, my clients, everybody I know who's publishing and creating books, why aren't they doing audiobooks? Mm-hmm. And it was that investigation that led me to understand that the royalties weren't fair. The creative process wasn't in favor of the author. I hate the idea of intellectual property being taken away or from creators. So it was all of that and that kind of led me to say, it was like there's room for something else, because at the time there was nothing for self-published or hybrid published authors to be able to get their audiobooks done in a way that was guided and professional and, kind of like guaranteed. You had to flounder through it on your own. Yeah. Or you had to go with traditional publishing methods that took your money, your IP, and your creativity. So I created that middle path out of some knowledge, a bunch of chutzpah, and some righteous indignation that it could definitely be done better. And it worked out really, really well. As for what makes people stand out, I think a lot of it has to do with audacity. And the audacity to speak your truth and to explore your curiosity, to explore what interests you, and then to share that with other people. I'm an acting teacher. Her name's Katrina Phillips, and she, because I'm still a theater kid, I still am. And one of the things that she talks about with acting is that acting makes the private public. And I think that for somebody who has a voice that we want to hear, there's such tremendous courage that it takes to make those thoughts that are often private or internal public, and to risk the public discourse in a way that, for better or for worse, might create reactions among the people that you're talking to or responses.
Thinking about your librarian. It was a real response, and it made others feel that response too. It was authentic, how you felt.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Coming out of the womb with a voice in the world trying to suppress it sounds like a real tug of war. Glad to see you overcame that and are showing others the way. Thank you, Clara. And God bless Sheila from the library. Kudos to her. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Gen Z, what incredible role models your parents must have been.
They were in their own ways, and they are in their own ways. Yes.
They haven't stopped.
Yep.
All right. So you've worked across industries,
Yeah.
and countries and platforms. While pioneering entirely new approaches to audio publishing, what would you say is your superpower as a leader, creator, and visionary?
That would be a combination of being insatiably curious and and adjacent to that, the imagination to go with it. You can't create anything unless you can envision it. And so being able to vision and use your imagination, use my imagination, which is extremely vivid, that has always been something that I have used to create worlds that I want to live in, that I want to be a part of, that I want to co-create with other people. The other piece is something that got me fired from more than one job when I was working for other people. And that, I am not kidding, my level of enthusiasm.
Oh, geez, are you kidding? She just said she wasn't kidding, and I go, "Are you kidding?" But
nope,
wow,
nope,
that's incredible.
I'm not kidding. I had a very serious employee review many years ago in my 20s after grad school, where my supervisor sat me down and said, "We did an employee review," and I said, "Without me?" Because that's weird. But nonetheless, he sat down and he says, "We need to talk about something very serious, and that is your level of over enthusiasm." And I burst out laughing. I thought I was getting punked. But no, he was dead serious. And that actually ended up with me having to basically leave corporate America. But fortunately, that is a superpower that has led me to create and co-create lots of other things with other people. So my enthusiasm is to bring people together to co-create, to be able to share with them and ask questions through my curiosity and my enthusiasm for what they're creating so that they can be seen. And then together we can co-create a path forward for them that really is about their voice being more fully in the world. And that's exciting. Yeah.
Beautiful. Love that, Tina. Being curious and imaginative, the way to nourish your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you have this great imagination, and sometimes the people you talk to do not. And so you need to be, in a way, enthusiastic enough to be able to visualize it for them and bring it to life for them so that they can walk into that, walk even into their own story to be able to tell.
Yeah. A lot of it is being that curious narrator, the reliable narrator of somebody's story and going, "Ooh, once upon a time, there was this." And they go, "Oh, it's that?" And I was like, "It could be that. Would you like it to be that?" And then they say something of the nature of, "Tell me more," which is the nature of storytelling. Right. And then the co-creation of the story happens in conversation, so to speak. And I'm not talking about the literal story necessarily. It's a story of what's possible that we could co-create together, or that they might create on their own even. That was a lot of what we did in business coaching. Yeah,
I think that sounds like fun. We should have a circle of doing that. So in a world overflowing with content, you focused on helping people create meaningful connections and lasting impact through voice. So how important do you think it is for women not just to have a voice, but to have and own platforms that amplify it?
Oh, absolutely. That's why I joined G Women early on, founding member. OG, it's not even a question, because we do live in a world where there's a lot of voices that still are not being heard. And it's not for lack of wanting. A lot of times it's for lack of access, and even more so lack of amplification, lack of paying attention. I mean, we could pick apart that all day long about why that might be the case. But what we have the opportunity to do as leaders is to build ladders, build bridges, and then invite people along for that ride. Like, keep the channels open and keep increasing the visibility and keep increasing the camaraderie that happens among that. And I have sizable social media following, but that's not where I spend my time. I spend my time in conversations with relatively small groups of people, between 1 and 20 people, or hosting events that, I'm hosting one later today that's, we have 180 people registered for, but it's a conversation. It's not us
You're not
just
talking
feeding
at them.
information and talking past them. There needs to be conversation, interaction, engagement, like actual communication, and leaving the doors open for dissent, questions, discourse, back and forth, right? And so it's so important to be able to learn how to create meaningful gatherings that serve a strong purpose, and also are, some spaces aren't for everyone. We have to cultivate spaces with very specific
And
purpose.
curate them. What's your topic today?
Topic today, I have a panel of editors who are also, some of them are developmental editors, some are ghostwriters, some are publishing experts, some are all three. And so the conversation is called Great Books Aren't Written, They're Edited. So it's part of our monthly series for authors and aspiring authors. Yeah.
I love it. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, I'm going to take us into the future of voice with AI, digital media and content overload, changing the landscape so quickly. Where do you believe authentic human voice will hold the greatest value in the next decade?
I think that authentic human voice is going to continue to be very distinct and very interesting, because right now, where the technology stands, it is still very challenging in anything longer than a couple of sentences to truly clone a human voice in a way that we don't clock as cloned, that is seamless as a human voice. And that's why we don't use AI in any of our audiobooks. The technology is not good enough. It creates all kinds of psychological, neurological effects that are negative to the book itself and to the content. Now, are people willing to look past that to a certain extent? Very little. AI audiobooks do not sell well, not at all. The only place we see it doing well is with very high quality fiction books that are being specifically offered through YouTube for free. People are willing to look past a lot for free.
Yeah.
But those creators are spending, I can't even begin to tell you how many hours on creating that content and monetizing that content on YouTube. It takes real effort. It's a job. So it's not as easy as it looks to create that kind of content, even using AI. And we see a lot of issues with AI in writing, where people say, oh, I've trained AI to write in my voice. No, you probably haven't. You've approximated probably about 60 to 70% of the way. And then the rest of it really does start to sound like everybody else. Using AI to create truly unique writing also takes a tremendous amount of time. I'm not afraid of AI. I actually use it every day. But it takes a tremendous amount of time. So issues of data sovereignty, data privacy, where our IP goes, these are all questions that we are looking at right now, even as a company, and how we can impact people, because this goes to how we create books from podcast content. We have to create these amazing relational databases and use them in concert with some AI tools to create drafts and content and ideas and things like that. But we have to be very, very cognizant of how that data gets used so that people's IP isn't being corrupted or taken.
It's been almost 10 years. Alex and I wrote a book, an anthology, and we put it on Audible. And when it was recorded, we wanted everyone to record in their own voice with their own accent. And they were from around the world. And to me, it was very important that it was that authentic, not that everybody had that same, broadcasting accent to speak as a narrator. How do you feel about books where people have accents, but they talk in English or their own language? Like in your podcast and the books that you're doing, do you do that?
Yeah.
Or do you think about it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a conversation we're having right now with a company who is very international, and they did an anthology book. And we have now had a couple of hours of conversation talking through whose who's going to narrate it and how and why and what are the impacts and how does that impact the brand and is it dishonoring anybody but to do things in certain ways. So these are conversations that have to be had, and since we specialize in author narration, we're very cognizant of what authors are going to be able to communicate the content of their book in a way that is impactful and meaningful and also consumable and maintain authenticity and make it listenable. So not everybody's meant to be an audiobook narrator, but doing one chapter is a very different prospect than somebody narrating for 4, 6, 8 hours of an audiobook.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally different. It's like listening to a podcast episode versus an 8-hour audiobook. So we often do hybrids of somebody whose voice, either they're not comfortable, they don't have the time, there's other things involved where they don't want to do the entire audiobook, but they still want the voice on the book so that we can fit the best of both worlds. And then if we are casting a narrator, that narrator has an authentic background to the author, shares key vocal qualities, is somebody that the author is really choosing to represent.
What would you say? Looks like we're having a little bit of an issue here. Oh, okay. What would you say to a woman who's still hesitating to fully step into her influence?
I'd say, so what? That feels like a really harsh self-judgment against yourself. And I think so many times, particularly as women, it's like in the Barbie movie. It's impossible to be a woman, right? You're not this, you're not that. So even the conversation of, I'm not letting myself be big enough in the world. I'm not charging what I'm worth, whatever that means.
Yeah.
You can't charge what you're worth. You're priceless. Stop it.
Nobody could afford you.
All of those conversations, right?
Right.
Meet yourself where you're at. You have to have room to grow. And if you've got yourself jacked up into this box because you're in this conversation of you're not enough, don't buy into that crap. Don't buy into that.
Sorry. Yeah. Deborah, Tina, you remind me of Laura Dern's character from the TV series called Enlightened. Corporate America couldn't handle her positivity and kind-heartedness.
I will take a comparison for Laura Dern. Thank you. That's very kind.
And Clara, it's true. We live in a world where a lit of voices still aren't being heard. And one of the reasons I'm super proud about the G Woman ecosystem. Thank you, Clara. I agree. And wow, so many details to work through to create the perfect audiobook.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if somebody out there is just wondering, where do you find those voices? Where do you can they do it? Can they sign up for something? Like, just a quickie.
Oh, for audiobooks? Sure. Our audiobook narrators that we source, we have about 500 on a database in-house, and we can audition out to about 7,000 more. But we choose narrators who have a minimum of 20 audiobooks each experience, and they're also vetted for their kind of quality, professional reputation, just like anybody else. But there's a lot of people who are very experienced audiobook narrators who do it part-time.
Yeah.
Rather than full-time.
Thank you so much, Tina.
Yeah.
No, this has been an amazing conversation. And just so you all know, a woman with a platform changes it. And this has been a G Woman Voices of Influence series. And our guest today was Tina Dietz. Thank you so much again for being our guest. Wasn't she wonderful?
My pleasure.
I agree.